Hello all, I'm Sai and in today's video I'm bringing to you another book haul and I have a total of 11 books to show you guys. All those books are turned around on this shelf. I actually bought this shelf way back in January but because of some reasons I could not get it installed. So finally I got it installed last week and I wanted to make use of it for this video. As I reveal each and every one of the books, I'll flip them around so that the spine is facing outwards and it'll give a good progression for the video. And I don't know if anyone noticed or not, I'm having a really good hair day today. So without any further ado, let's get into the books right away. The first book is by an Indian author and I wanted to buy a book by this author because I read another book by him just a few months back and I loved that very much. It's not even a full-length book, it is kind of like a short story or novella. And the book that I bought now from that author is The Glass Palace by Amitav Ghosh. I read this very short book by him. I don't remember the name of the book right now. I'll try to drop a cover somewhere. But I liked his writing in that book so much. It was very atmospheric and it delivered the exact type of feeling that the author wanted to convey through the characters and through his writing. So in this book, we follow Rajkumar during the British colonial times in Burma and how he became a huge name inside the teakwood industry inside Burma. And during his young age, he also got to befriend this young woman named Dolly, who was a person inside the court of the Burmese queen. So once he becomes rich and a huge man in the society, he goes forward in this quest in order to find Dolly back and just make a connection or bond with her. In short, I can say that we are going to follow the life story of this main character Rajkumar throughout this book. And based on my experience with the author's writing, I'm sure that it is going to be really good. And the cover of the book also says that it is the winner of the Jnanapith Award. I don't know what the award is specifically for, but based on my experience from the author's writing, as I said before, I have really high expectations for this one. It's also quite a huge book, so it'll take a little bit of time for me to read, but I'm definitely hyped for this one. The next one is a very popular trilogy. It is a series, but I bought the bind-up of it because the original edition that was published in Japan had 3 different books, and in English it was just published as a single book if I'm not wrong. And the book is The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. I've read only 2 other Murakami novels before this one. The first one is Kafka on the Shore, which I read last year and loved so much. And this year, very recently, I read Killing Commendatory. And my experience with reading both of those books has been so much different from anything that I've ever experienced in my entire life. And with that experience, I'm pretty sure that what I can expect from Murakami is that it's going to be something super different and it is also going to be so much weirder than anything that I've read before. I'm not going to try and say the plot of this book because I'm sure that I'll not be explaining it in a proper way at all. So I'll just read it out from the blurb of the back of the book. And I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing any of the Japanese names wrong. Toru Okada's cat has disappeared. His wife is growing more distant every day. Then there are the increasingly explicit telephone calls he has recently been receiving. As this compelling story unfolds, the tidy suburban realities of Okada's vague and blameless life spent cooking, reading, listening to jazz and opera, and drinking beer at the kitchen table are turned inside out and he embarks on a bizarre journey guided by a succession of characters, each with a tale to tell. I don't know the names of the individual books inside this trilogy or this bind-up, but I know that it is like a collection of 3 books in the original language, that is Japanese. And I've not even looked up for any reviews of this one because I just want to go in blind and experience it without any kind of expectation at all. So if you have read the Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, please do let me know how it is and what kind of experience that I can look forward to, because my experience with Murakami stories has been so much different from anything that I've experienced at all. So even if I don't end up liking this book, I'm sure that it'll be a really good reading experience. Next we have a standalone fantasy book by one of my favorite authors, and it is The Near Witch by B.E. Schwab. I've almost liked each and every one of the B.E. Schwab books that I've read so far. Even if I have not loved them, I have always liked her concepts and how she goes forward and explores them. And her writing is also something which is very beautiful in its tone, and it just compels me to keep on reading the book always. So in this book, we follow this small village or small place called Near, and there's this tale of this witch called the Near Witch in the place, and it says that the witch always steals away children from this village and keeps them for her own. And our main character Lexi is also been said from her childhood that she should not listen to the voice of the wind because the wind always expects for some company, and whoever listens to its voice will be taken away by the wind. She's not sure whether all of these things that she has been hearing are true or not, but what happens out of nowhere one day is she gets to see this boy who's in the form of a smoke, and the next day after she meets him, the children in Nia start disappearing one by one out of their beds. And since this keeps on happening continuously, there's also a connection with the smoke-like boy which has been established. So the story of the Near Witch as well as the smoke-like boy needs to be connected and explored by the characters inside this book. It seems kind of like middle grade to me, but if I'm not wrong, this is actually an adult standalone fantasy book. But I'm definitely sure that I'm going to pick this up really soon because it is V.E. Schwab and I know that I cannot go wrong with her. The next one is a self-help book, and it is Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before by Dr. Julie Smith. You can actually find this author on YouTube on the handle Dr. Julie. She's a psychologist, and in this book she just shares all the methods that she is aware of and practices in her therapy sessions with her patients for us readers to handle the ups and downs in our daily life. And I have watched a lot of shorts and videos of this particular author/doctor on YouTube, and I have found them very informative and helpful for me at multiple instances. More than that, I'm very interested in learning more about psychology. I even wanted to study psychology in college, but because of some reasons I could not. So I'm trying to fulfill that hunger to learn by reading books like this one. And my brother actually listened to the audiobook of this one just a couple months back, and he's been asking me to read this ever since. I also thought of going for the audiobook itself, but after watching some of the videos of this author, I want to read the book physically because I think I'll be able to get a lot out of this one. And I've also planned to make dedicated reviews/discussion videos for the non-fiction books in specific that I'm showing in this book haul. So you can expect separate videos for the non-fiction books alone from this book haul. The cover is very wide, so it does not look that great in my camera. And it is not even that long, just around 300 pages. So I think I'll be able to read this faster, and I definitely hope I learn a lot from this one. The next one is a book that I bought because of a booktuber, and the book is Manifest by Roxie Nafousi. This book was recommended by Anchal from Anchal Rani on YouTube again. She's an Indian booktuber and her channel was called Libro Review before. Now she has shifted it to her own name, which is Anchal Rani. I'll try to link her video down in the description for this book so that you can go forward and watch that video. In this book, the author basically talks about manifesting whatever you want in life using 7 very easy and clear steps that can be followed by anyone. It's also quite a short book, okay? It's just 150 pages long. And as far as I've seen things from the index of this book at the same time from Anchal's video, I get a sense that this is going to be a very practical book that can be followed by anyone who's not even aware of the law of attraction and the concept of manifestation as a whole. Personally, I am a person who believes in both the law of attraction as well as manifestation because I have experienced that in my life multiple times, even before knowing the concept. But after I got a little bit knowledge about the concept of manifestation and the law of attraction, I was able to understand how I have achieved certain things which seemed a little bit far-fetched for me at some point in time. Even now I can confidently say that I am a manifester and I do manifest a lot of things frequently in my life. And since I have a little bit knowledge inside that area, I'm trying to make it even more granular for me so that I can see my life in a proper way and get what I want without being clouded by any other negative thoughts. Even if you're not interested in this concept, I'd highly suggest you to go forward and watch that video of Anchal because that video was very relatable for me. And if you're a person who is someone that is practicing these kind of things, you need to watch that video and it will resonate with you also. So I have really high expectations for this one. Let's just wait and see how it is going to work. The next one is a book that I'm actually quite frightened to read because it is something which is very, very new to me in terms of concept, and it is Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. And the tagline for this book is How the Courage to be Vulnerable Transforms the Way We Live, Love, Parent and Lead. So this book is basically about making yourself comfortable to be vulnerable with people. And I want to read this book in specific because I'm a very private person and I'm so much introverted. You would think that I'm making videos on YouTube and how can I be a very private person? But both of those things are very different according to me. It's not that if I'm a very private person, I cannot talk with people. It's not like that for me. I'm just trying to say that I'm very private in a sense that I don't like to share my emotions and feelings that easily with people whom I don't feel that comfortable with. For example, the only people that I share my emotions and feelings with are my immediate family and no one else around that. And everyone else in my family is also predominantly like that because of some things that we have not been taught by the previous generations. It's not a fault, okay, it's just something that has happened. But when I got aware that it has happened to me also, I wanted to try some books which can help me open up myself to people and be even more receptive to other people's feelings. And I saw this as a recommendation at multiple blogs when I searched for that particular thing way back in the beginning of 2022. I've been afraid to delve into this topic and I wanted to at least start trying it this year itself. So I just went forward and bought this. It was quite expensive for my budget, but I needed to buy this book because I know that I'll just keep that as a reason and just procrastinate reading it. So I just went forward and bought the book. So I'm sure that I will be reading it now. And I'm sure that there are so many people out there also who are just as private as I am and don't open up with people because that's how we've grown up because of various conditions that are surrounding us. We cannot blame anyone in particular for it. But once we become aware of it, it's our duty and our responsibility for ourselves to go forward and work on it so that we become better as a person. And I always believe that there's always a better version of us, no matter how good we get. So I want to become that better version of myself, and I think this book will help me in that aspect. Even if I don't talk about any of the other books in this book haul, I will talk about this book in a specific video for sure. The next one is a personal finance book, and it is Let's Talk Money by Monika Halan. And if I'm not wrong, this is one of the most best-selling Indian self-help books when it comes to personal finance. And I definitely want to read this because the only other personal finance book that I've read that is written by an Indian is 13 Steps to Bloody Good Wealth by Ashwin Sanghi and Sunil Dalal. And if you're a person who's a very beginner when it comes to personal finance and personal finance books in specific, you need to try that book because it is very, very easy to understand and it explains each and everything in such a simple way that even a kid who's in 8th grade can easily understand what the author's trying to say. And my mindset towards money has always not been positive because we have not had enough or more than enough most of the times when it comes to my life. And ever since I started working, I made sure that there's a certain amount which goes to savings and a huge chunk of it goes for the bills. And apart from that, we have to spend some money in order to make ourselves better because not every parent has the ability to teach their children in order to take care of themselves because they have been not taught that by the before generations. And it's fine because, as I said before, once we get aware of it, it's our responsibility and duty for ourselves in order to go forward and equip ourselves better. And I personally believe that money is a great tool to do a lot of great things in life, both for ourselves and the world as a whole. Your world can be comprised of anyone, okay? It can just be a single person or the entire humanity as a whole. I'm sure that all of us want money not just to spend for ourselves, but also our loved ones and the people whom we care about. And the past year, I've been in search for multiple ways in order to multiply the money that I have. And I think this book will help me get a clearer perspective of what I need to do and what I'm not doing correctly right now for the money that I have to multiply. Since it is also written by an Indian author, I'm sure that it will be perfect for the economy that we have. Again, it's quite a short book, so it must not take much time for me to read this one. Let's just wait and see how it is going. The next one is a sequel book, but it is also a sequel to a self-help book again. And it is The Courage to Be Happy by Ichiro Kimishi and Fumitake Koga, which is the sequel to The Courage to Be Disliked by the same author duo. I read The Courage to Be Disliked last year and it was such a different reading experience for me because it confronted a lot of thoughts that I had in my head, and that book is also something which deals with core psychological concepts and I just loved the experience of reading it. It's not an easy experience, trust me, okay? It's a very difficult read because it will make you question a lot of things in your life and a lot of decisions and mindsets that you have. But if you're open enough and receptive enough to try and understand what the authors are trying to say, it is definitely a gold mine. And I know that I have been a people pleaser a lot of times before in my life and I'm trying to cut that down as much as I can. That book is something which always keeps on resonating in my head every time I go to the extent of people pleasing, even without my knowledge. And because of that reason itself, I want to read this one because it takes a lot of courage to be happy also, because one of the main things that we all face nowadays is that we are not feeling happy at all and we are unhappy most of the times. I don't think that it is always necessary to be happy. It is okay to be unhappy also. By unhappy, I don't mean sad. I'm just saying that it is okay to be not happy. Even with that, the title of this book seems a bit confusing for me, but I do trust in these two authors, so I'm definitely going to try this as soon as I can. The next one is actually a book that I've read before, and it is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab again. I read this way back in 2020 as soon as it got released as an audiobook, but I did not buy the physical copy back then because it was way too expensive for me during that time because of the pandemic, and the physical copies were not available here. And even after that, I did not have much plans to buy this one recently, but I saw that the price dropped so much, so I just went forward and bought it because I want a copy of it. It also turned out to be a great paperback because it is floppy. As I said before, V.E. Schwab has easily become one of my favorite authors recently, and because of that itself, I wanted to have a copy of this one, and I know that I will be rereading this pretty soon because I have had some fond thought of this book in the past 2 years, and I've thought about it a lot also, and I've also recommended it many times in the channel. I also have a review of this one, if I'm not wrong, from way back when I read it in 2020. I'll try to link it down in the description. So if you don't know about this book, here we follow our main character, Addie LaRue, whose life starts way back in the 1700s in France, and she makes this deal with the devil, and it is that she wants to become an immortal and does not want to marry anyone who she does not wish to marry. And the catch with this deal is that she becomes immortal, but the devil makes sure that no one remembers Addie LaRue ever in her life. And she has been living through 4 centuries without being remembered by anyone at all, but also inspiring a lot of pieces of art in the world. It's a beautifully written story and the plot is also really interesting. The main character here is just out of the world if you ask me, and if you're a person who wants a very different kind of fantasy book, you need to try this one. It's also a standalone book, so you need not come into a series. I'll probably reread this pretty soon and also heavily annotate it. I just can't wait to do it soon. Next we have a mystery thriller if I'm not wrong, and it is Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Mellors. This is also another book that was recommended by Ansel from one of her videos from last year, and she had really great things to say about this one, and ever since I watched that video, I've been wanting to read this book. It is quite a short book, but the font inside this one is very tiny, so I think it will take quite a bit of time for me to read this one. And I read the blurb of the book from the back cover, and I don't think I'll be able to articulate it properly to you guys, so I'm just going to read it from the back cover. New York is slipping from Cleo's grasp. Sure, she's at a different party every other night, but she barely knows anyone. Then she meets Frank, 20 years older. Frank's life is full of all the success and excess that Cleo's lacks. He offers her the chance to be happy and the opportunity to apply for a green card. She offers him a life imbued with beauty and art, and hopefully a reason to cut back on his drinking. They are everything each other needs right now. Cleo and Frank run headfirst into a romance that neither of them can quite keep up with, that reshapes their lives and the lives of those around them, whether that's Cleo's best friend struggling to embrace his gender identity in the wake of her marriage, or Frank's financially dependent sister arranging sugar daddy dates after being cut off. Cleopatra and Frankenstein is an astounding and painfully relatable debut novel about the spontaneous decisions that shape our entire lives and those imperfect relationships born of unexpectedly perfect evenings. That seems like quite an elaborate description for the plot in a back cover, and it's been quite a while since I've read such a detailed plot in the back of a book. It seems like this book will have a lot of layers to it. Let's just wait and see. The last book is yet another self-help book, and this one was also recommended by Ansel, and I did not notice that I have 3 books recommended by the same booktuber for this video. Usually it does not happen like that for me at all. And this book is something which she has been raving about for the past few months, and I've also been wanting to read this book because I liked the first book by this author very much, and it was very beginner friendly. And the book is 8 Runes of Love by Shetty. I read the first book by him, which is Think Like a Monk, in 2021 I think, and I did like that book very much. I did not read it as a physical copy. I listened to the audiobook that was narrated by himself, and I liked it very much. And it's not like I accept with everything that Shetty puts forward in all of his platforms. I do get a lot of knowledge from them and a lot of helpful advice from them, but it's not like I agree with everything that he says. It was the same when it comes to Think Like a Monk also. I hope I'll have the same kind of experience from this book also. And personally, I don't read that many books that are about love and romance that much, both in fiction as well as non-fiction. It's not like I have anything against those concepts. It's just that I'm not that much interested in them at this point in my life. But this one seems to be getting a lot of positive reviews from people whom I trust on the internet. So I hope I'll get a lot out of this one. Let's just wait and see. It also is quite a short book, but it is a bit broader compared to the normal paperbacks. So I think it will be a bit more elaborate in its content. Let's just wait and see. But I definitely hope to get a lot out of this one because I have not read a book that is basically about love alone before. And I think this will be the first one in that list. So yes guys, those are all the 11 new books that I wanted to show to you guys in this book haul. And if you have read any of these books, please do let me know down in the comments how they are and what I can expect from them. And if you have any books from this list which you want me to read first compared to the others, let me know that also down in the comments so that I can try and prioritize them. And if you did enjoy watching today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. And if you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.